This episode of Bullet Heaven was made with a copy of the game provided by Degica Games.
Stage 1A.
In episode 153 of Bullet Heaven, we took a look at Space Invaders Extreme for the PlayStation Portable, which celebrated the 30th anniversary of Space Invaders in style. As what could easily be the ultimate title in the Space Invaders series to date, it's no surprise that Space Invaders Extreme would find its way to other platforms such as the Xbox 360 and Steam. Space Invaders Extreme has now made its way to the home computer by way of Degica Games to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Space Invaders. In itself, 2018 is also the 10th anniversary of Space Invaders Extreme, which is nothing short of fitting. Featuring new visuals and features, is this version of the game worth the quadruple dip? Let's take a look. The core gameplay to Space Invaders Extreme is almost as basic as the original game. Players move their cannons on the bottom of the screen to the left or right and fire their shots vertically at increasingly difficult waves of invaders, one shot at a time. Invaders will also shoot back, but players are able to take out most of these shots with their own as a defensive measure. If not, the player's cannon actually has a visible hitbox to better gauge tight dodges amidst many shots. And that's more or less it, but there's a lot more complexity than meets the eye. As enemy invaders are killed off, a number of factors can lead to numerous results that benefit the player. First and foremost, if a player takes out 4 invaders of the same color, a power-up will drop that grants enhanced firepower for a short time. Blue drops enable a straight-firing laser, red an explosive bomb shot that causes splash damage, and green a wide volley of simultaneous shots. Black invaders can also grant a shield to the player. A gauge on the right-hand side of the screen displays the remaining time left of these enhancements. Players can also gradually level up their cannon in a way that allows for more rapid fire. Maintaining a high multiplier rate and kill chain makes for a faster level up and, by extension, faster clears in general. A small window also shows how many invaders of what type have been killed in sequence. Like the original Space Invaders Extreme, a huge variety of invaders exists in this version of the game, each with different fire and behaviors. Knowing how each works, which will turn to become super skinny, which will reflect shots or require multiple hits, or even which will explode to trigger huge kill chains in a wave will make for a more efficient game. At the very least, these varied invaders and creative waves make for quite an engaging time throughout the whole thing. As with many other versions of Space Invaders, UFOs will appear from time to time that can be shot for bonus points. These UFOs also appear in a number of different colors, which have different behaviors or result in different outcomes once shot. Some drop new invaders, while others fire powerful lasers at the player. Yellow ones will trigger a bonus roulette that can lead to extra cannons, enhancements, or bonus points, and red UFOs trigger a bonus round. If 2 sets of 4 enemies of the same color are dispatched in a row, they will trigger a flashing UFO. The flashing UFOs always trigger a bonus round just like the red ones when shot. In these rounds, players take on sub-challenges without the risk of losing a life. Some require a certain amount of specific enemies to be killed, while others require a specific amount of power-ups to be collected. They can be pretty challenging as well, and if the player is hit, a time or quota penalty is applied. If completed though, Fever Mode is triggered, and players gain access to superpowered attacks that can be fired in rapid succession, rather than one at a time. Many invader waves can be cleared in this manner with enhanced bonuses that add dramatically to the score. More on that later. There are a number of additional tasks that players can achieve in each stage with enough skill and luck. Several indicators known as features can be activated by meeting certain conditions, such as clearing single rows or columns of invaders, clearing groups of a single type of invader, or all of one color. If all of these lamps are lit up, the player will be awarded with various bonuses or condition changes. There are all kinds of neat secret conditions and features in Space Invaders Extreme as well. If the player executes the perfect combination of kills, the whole playfield can be changed to a single invader type, a single color, or even all UFOs that will each drop power-ups for constant ability and huge score. It's pretty amazing how deep Space Invaders Extreme gets, considering its basic elements are more or less the same as they were in 1978. That's not to say that there are no modern amenities, obviously, just look at all we've seen. In terms of actual game progression, Space Invaders Extreme takes place over a 5-stage set, and there's also a good amount of choice in the game's progression. Much like Taito's own Darius games, players can choose their path through the game to take on harder routes if they so desire. The number of waves in a specific stage is displayed on the left-hand side of the screen when the stage starts, which also shows how many of the total has been defeated. This number changes from stage to stage, which can sometimes make for a lengthy endurance run. Any stage cleared can also be taken on in the single-stage free-play mode of the game. A number of much harder extra stages are also unlocked when the game is completed, on any difficulty as well. All told, there are a total of 16 stages to complete in Space Invaders Extreme, but will take many playthroughs to fully unlock and conquer. That is, of course, only if the player achieves a certain letter rank in each stage. Got a B or below? Get back into the easier stuff. But if a player gets an A or an S, let the good times roll. At the end of each stage resides a huge boss to test the player's skill. These bosses take some creative thinking and fast action to take out efficiently, and they're sure to test the skill of most players. Especially in the case of harder boss variants, depending on the stage level played, these bosses can cause some serious havoc. As such, even though players will undoubtedly get a number of extents throughout the game, Space Invaders Extreme gets very difficult as the stages progress. Thankfully, if a player does end up chewing through all of their cannons, they can still continue the game at the cost of their scores if stage completion or survival is what they're after. Better still, they will continue right on the spot, rather than restarting the stage. There's just one catch to the whole thing. There's no multiplayer function to the game, which was present in the DS, PSP, and Xbox Live Arcade versions. However, it's not a terrible loss, since playing for score is where Space Invaders Extreme's real replay value is in the end.
Rate up. Rate up.
There is an insane amount of ways to boost a player's score in Space Invaders Extreme. We could go on for a whole episode just going through the nuance of the game's finer scoring bits, but it alone could be 20 minutes long or longer. Here are some of the most important things to take into consideration though. First up, a rate multiplier will build as subsequent invaders are dealt with. This rate will climb so long as things are being taken out, so keeping the hits coming is always a good way to go. A chain counter also keeps track of how many invaders in a row the player has destroyed. Reaching certain rates or certain chain numbers will result in a break, in which the multiplier goes way up for a great boost in points for a limited time. UFOs also greatly increase the number of points received, even if, on their own, they aren't worth especially much, typically speaking. Yellow roulette UFOs give the player a chance at a number of enhancements or bonus rounds, but hitting a white invader results in a smooth 100,000 points. Fever mode allows for huge bonuses as well, especially with jackpot UFOs. Each jackpot UFO is worth 10,000 points, but after killing enough of them, super jackpot UFOs can be killed for 20,000 points apiece. Various other criteria, such as completing entire rows of invaders, entire columns, single color, single type, and so forth, will grant multi-thousand point bonuses, as does taking out entire waves hastily. At stage end, a bonus score is tallied from the number of UFOs dispatched, the number of features triggered, and the maximum chain achieved. This is paired to the stage score and added to the total. Once again, a letter rank is applied by performance and the player's world rank is shown. A secondary game end bonus is also applied for the player's final score and letter rank. There really is a gigantic spread of scoring opportunities that will allow any player of any skill to strategize and achieve a big score to compete on the worldwide leaderboards. The leaderboards in the Steam version of Space Invaders Extreme are real-time. The player can always see where they stack up to others, with a spinning number showing their real-time world placement in the rankings. In addition, each single stage in free play mode has its own leaderboard. So if a player is super comfortable with a single stage, but not the rest, they can work towards a high worldwide rank for that one stage alone. The short of the long of it is, in addition to its super refined, fun gameplay, there's a ton of replay to Space Invaders Extreme through its scoring alone.
Rate up. Rate up. Rate up.
One of the primary standout features of Space Invaders Extreme is its presentation. Though the DS version had better, more engaging gameplay on a technical level, the PSP version was always the one we like to play thanks to its superior audio quality and sharper visuals. The Steam version of Space Invaders Extreme takes it to, well, the extreme. This is where you'll find the crispest visuals and the highest quality audio of any version, which already makes it the best one to play. But there's more. First, let's talk visuals. Space Invaders Extreme has always been super busy visually, so steps have been taken to mitigate what's going on in the background. It's still more or less what we've seen in the PSP version, but a high-resolution stippling has been applied to give it a more muted feel, which works quite a bit better than the PSP version we took a look at. Options also exist to either dim or completely turn off the background imagery. The invaders themselves also have all kinds of different variants that indicate at a glance how they will attack the player. Normal invaders are the target du jour most of the time, but if they have glowing eyes, they will fire a spread of suicide shots, for example. Others that have red borders explode with splash damage. Some have additional bits on their undersides for faster shots, lasers, shields, and more. Knowing how each behaves can take a while, but it all adds to the overall diversity and general freshness that Space Invaders Extreme maintains throughout its many stages and playthroughs. One visual choice we didn't like was the achievement and notification window that pops up every time an achievement is obtained or someone on Steam does something. Its design is clean, but ends up blocking certain parts of the screen in a decidedly bothersome way. If it appeared on the top right-hand corner instead, it would work much better. It'd be a pretty easy fix. The music and sound effects have also received an impressive upsampling, delivering super clear, crisp sound that definitely does the music in Space Invaders Extreme justice. This version even features all new tunage for some of the later stage variants. In all instances, the music flows much more seamlessly between bonus rounds, fever mode, and bosses with excellent transition and nuance. Stage 3A is definitely one of my favorite BGMs in recent memory. All of the sounds in Space Invaders Extreme also adds to the musical ambience overall, and it works very well. There are a couple of annoying sounds here or there, but generally speaking, this is easily the best sounding Space Invaders ever made. Others' opinions may vary. The UI is also very well laid out, with borders along the sides of the playfield displaying all game stats, rankings, and statuses in a minimalistic, efficient manner. It's all very easy to navigate, whether selecting a play mode, a stage, or glancing at progress, and so forth. Rounding out the presentation is a series of decent Steam achievements for completionists and Steam trading cards to collect. A very nice package indeed. So, how does Space Invaders Extreme stack up? Let's take a look.
Rate up. Rate up. Rate up.
The control in Space Invaders Extreme is tight, responsive, and basically the best the series has ever seen, especially with the new visible hitbox. An excellent spread of stages with progressive branching difficulty makes for a game that caters to players of all skill levels. With 16 stages in total requiring, at the bare minimum, 5 playthroughs to unlock everything, plus single stage score attack for each, there's a ton to play here. Online leaderboards for literally everything enhances replay even further. Visually, the muted backgrounds look fantastic, even with the faux stippling in place. The interface is also better than every version to date, as is the clarity of the invaders and the cannon. In terms of sound, there is no better sounding version of Space Invaders Extreme to date. Additional tracks for later stages make the Steam version once again the definitive one to play. A couple of sparse, annoying effects detract only a negligible amount, which doesn't affect its score. If we're talking ingenuity, it's hard to argue that Space Invaders Extreme in its ultimate form isn't innovative. Adding real-time ranking and tweaks such as a visible hitbox and remixed invaders makes this the ultimate Space Invaders game. It's absolutely worth its 40-year heritage and legacy, and deserves room on any player's hard drive. However, a lack of multiplayer hurts a little. Space Invaders Extreme is $19.99 on Steam, and for the amount of gameplay it holds, it's well worth its asking price. Ignore all of the other versions, this one is where it's at. This is very evidently more than just a port. Space Invaders Extreme on Steam only really bears a passing resemblance to its DS, PSP, and XBLA predecessors thanks to its extra smooth gameplay tweaks, enhanced visuals, and crystal clear sound. A loss of multiplayer notwithstanding, this is easily the best Space Invaders game we've played to date. The Steam version of Space Invaders Extreme gets a 4.75 out of 5. You can get a copy of Space Invaders Extreme on Steam today for about $20 US. Now that was a revival worth a look and a half. It's too bad some other long-lived series couldn't be refined the way Space Invaders Extreme was. Here are some other Space Invaders games we've taken a look at in the past.